Hello there, traveler, and welcome to the Tavern Post Inn. I'm Tal.
And I'm Sam.
And this week we're going to bring something new. We're going to try something out for a difference, so we're just going to bring you simply the QOTW, or
the
question of the week. So it's exactly that. It's just going to be real simple. We have a little community that we like to post a little question of the week, and we thought it'd be fun to be able to bring this onto the air and gain a little bit more insight and just have a little bit more honesty, like a creative exercise, right? To be able to challenge yourselves to like come up with these answers and like just have some fun with it. So I know, Sam, you're really excited about this because there's no thought involved at the beginning, which is exactly how we aim to create.
That's what we need.
No thought creation. How you feeling about it? You excited?
I'm very excited. No thoughts behind it.
No thoughts, just excitement.
The day is filled with thoughts. This does not need to be.
No, well, we are going to create a thought from this, right? That's what the idea is, actually, is to create a simple,
probably
little
a few
narrative,
thoughts.
Few thoughts from it. So we'll go ahead and dive right in. And this week's question is pretty simple. Or does it seem simple? Or I can hack up along. Wow, it's not... Gary's going out, too.
God.
Oh, we're down.
Cacophony of noise and loudness.
Wow, I got a little ahead of myself there. That did not go. And that didn't go so well.
Are you okay?
We'll find out. We'll find out. Am I okay? That's a really relative question.
It's a deep question.
But as far as what is this week's question, what is something that freaks you out for no good reason? You want to go first or should I?
I'll go first.
All right.
Sure.
What's something that freaks you out, Samantha, for no good reason?
Something that freaks me out for no good reason. People in costume. I'm not talking about like you're at Disneyland and you're meeting Princess Jasmine or Kylo Ren. I'm talking Eeyore in a full suit. I'm talking, what's his name? Barney. The full suit. You remember what was that?
Like actual mascots.
Yeah, like actual mascots. Like you remember that ice skating rink in Arizona?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Polar Ice.
Yes, Polar Ice.
Yeah.
They had a mascot that would come out in the middle and do like a dance with you, right? Or not ice skating. Oh my God, no, roller rink. It was the roller rink.
Oh, the one that in Chandler?
The one I think it got shut down.
No, it's still there.
Oh, it's still there?
Yeah, it was always there.
Shit.
Yeah, it never closed. It literally survived the pandemic. It just did not die.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, that place had the mascot that would come out and like rollerblade with you, and they'd be like, doing the YMCA or that is actually.
Yeah,
like I would immediately leave the ice and go like, or the ice, the rink, and look away so I wouldn't have to watch this thing.
So,
dance.
like, now with how we can have, like, kind of like the morph suits nowadays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, people in, like, kind of like the full body, like, gingerbread costumes or Santa costumes and stuff like that. How does that work with that?
It kind of freaks me out still.
Still
you just don't know who's
but, like, if I
it.
was to, like, come up to you and just, like, dressed as, like, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Mm-hmm. That would be fine.
Okay.
I don't know, but again, like, no good reason.
Well, I think that, like, there's a lot of people who have fear of, like, animatronics and, like, mascots because of, like, first of all, for how bad a lot of, practical costume was for so long. Mm-hmm. Like, looking back at old school, like, Easter Bunny photos.
Oh, they're horrifying.
Yeah, they're terrifying, right? They're truly, like, I don't understand how people would ever think it would be okay to put your kid on, like, some of those, like, costume creatures, right?
I bet that's where it started.
I don't know. It's your fear. I'm just trying to be like, I'm trying to like understand it a little bit more, right? That's all.
Oh, I think there's a couple places where it could have stemmed from if we're going to psychoanalyze it. Number one, there's a photo of my sister and I on the Easter Bunny's lap. And the Easter
so you
Bunny
did go on an Easter Bunny.
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But number two, I loved the Teletubbies growing up. The Teletubbies was my jam.
It wasn't until I think I reached like middle school that they became actually like that creepy to me.
Yeah, my sister.
Because I remember switching a point where I loved them too growing up.
Gary liked them
exactly too. He likes the custard.
Yeah.
But then I reached a certain point of watching it where I'm like, oh, this unsettles me now.
It's a very unsettling show. Like, if you look back now, like, it's very unsettling. It's very unsettling, right, Gary?
Gary knows to not fuck with the Teletubbies. I know.
What else do you have to say?
Thanks for being including, Gary.
That's very important. That's a very important message.
His voice won't be quieted. So there's no intended purpose to try.
No. My sister scared me and said that the Teletubbies were going to come and kidnap me at night as a kid. And that just unlocked, like, that's number 2 reason. Okay. Yeah.
So there's, like, an actual implied... I think, actually, I did something to my sister like that, actually. Like, no joke. Like, I think I told her one, like, in the mornings, when it was still dark out in the wintertime one time, that, like, at the bottom of the stairs, like, werewolves and monsters would get her. And, like, I remember, like, years later, she told me that, like... Yeah, that fucked me up. And I'm like, what?
You're like, oh shit, my bad.
But at the same time, though, I'm someone who would take their Goosebumps collection book and put it outside of their room at night. Because it was too scary to keep the scary books in the room when I was sleeping. Yeah.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, so, like, who am I to, like, judge, like,
right.
Yeah, like, whatever weird childhood superstitions, right?
Why do we torment ourselves and those around us as children?
Why do we still do it?
We still do.
Yeah,
That's true. We just do it in a different way. So,
we really do it in a different way, though.
Tal, what about you? What is something that freaks you out for no good reason?
So I'm going to talk about something that I think is actually very justifiably freaks me out. But because of the change in my life of how it happened to be is why it's for no good reason. Body horror. I absolutely struggle with body horror now. And I struggle with it in a abstract sense. I struggle with it in a sense where, like, you and me can be talking and then you can start talking about potentially about how you're struggling with, like, some weird internal bleeding or something like that, or some weird health thing or something like that. And then all of a sudden I just start envisioning it and I start empathizing with it in a really intense way. And I'll explain why I think I go through this in a minute, but basically then I can give myself almost a panic attack because I go through this intense, like, thought process behind of hyperfixation on that body horror image in my mind, quite literally.
Because you can visualize it.
Everything. I feel it. Everything. It becomes like
it's like a phantom.
Yeah.
What is it? Phantom pain.
It's quite literally I don't know if it would be like a phantom. It's because it's me. Like I'm very quite literally like forcing myself to imagine going through it.
Yeah.
And so I'm directly like forcing like an empathetic like torture on myself. And it's not. I actually for a very long time was very desensitized to gore and body horror. I grew up on 4chan on the internet. That was my experience growing up on the old internet.
Watching horror films
4chan.
Where...
Not just even horror films, like straight up gore threads of just like brutal human experience stuff. And like even still to this day, I can respond so well in a first aid situation. If I see like you hurt, I respond well. Because it's like I like have done so much first aid training, and my body horror is not in person. It's weird. I can see you hurting like that, and then like be like, okay, shit, I need to go do whatever it needs to get you to urgent care, to clean the wound, whatever. I'm actually really good at that, and I've been able to help some friends do some gross things because of that. Like I've been able to help, but for whatever reason, I will go through just in conversation is when I will trigger this body horror. And I've only ever happened to it when I've been talking to people or listening to people a few times. And it always comes at a point when I'm dealing with a lot of other stress in life. But like, for instance, I was just talking to my partner on the phone one day and I passed out at work. It was the first experience I ever had anything like this because I didn't know I had a body horror issue until that moment where I actually passed out from it. I've had another experience where I was listening to a podcast in the car and they described how someone hurt themselves. And I had to pull over the car because I almost passed out and, driving to work. And I was just like, oh shit, I got overheated. It was the middle of the winter in Seattle. And I rolled down the windows because I'm steaming because I'm so hot because of my body's reaction, right? So I think it's for no good fucking reason. Because I've seen gross things. I can still react just fine. But I go through this and I think it's the current iteration of my OCD actually.
Yeah, and how it's
I have a very unique version of OCD. That manifests through intrusive thoughts. That's what I found out through that was my biggest thing I got through my undergrad, y'all. Wasn't the education experience. It was my first actual diagnosis and understanding how my brain works.
Yep.
And it led to me into a pretty scary place at that time. And I've talked to you about those hyperfixations at that point, and I've talked about, the intrusive thoughts on this podcast plenty of times.
Yeah.
I think that for whatever reason, I've been able to pretty much over the past decade deal with not thinking I'm a monster and like dealing with those like understanding their intrusive thoughts, and it's a weird form of OCD and like it's those thoughts are no longer just it's a non-issue in my life. Is the best way to describe it, because it's just not my reality. But it has taken on different evolutions throughout the years, and I think this is the current iteration, and honestly the most physically powerful to actually cause a panic attack reaction, right? But it's definitely, I think, that the most intense iteration I've had of that version of OCD, actually, which is weird. And that's why I say it's really for no good fucking reason. Because I understand the mechanism behind it, of this is just dumb fixation.
It's what my brain wants, but I don't.
And I'm just like, that's not when I'm, so I think that's why I think body horror for me actually would be my biggest fear for no good reason. And even though there's plenty of really good reasons.
There's always a good reason. Everyone can justify any kind of fear, right? Any kind of ick, any kind of weird thing that might get under your skin. But ultimately, it's for no good damn reason.
It's especially because I'm hoping that one day I just wake up and I'm a changed person again, and I'm like, oh, these are no longer a fear of mine, and I've been able to work through it or whatever it means. But we'll get to that side of the hill, right?
Yeah.
See, you're smart. You cover up when you cough. I just do it right on mic.
To be fair, it was a burp.
It would have been your second.
It was another burp.
It would have been your second one. They just don't hear the first one.
It's Dr. Pepper, man.
Oh, Dr. Pepper's so good.
Another thing I think that freaks me out for no good reason.
Oh, yeah?
Bugs in, on, or around my food or my drink. Like, if there is a fly, if my cup right now was open and there was a fly,
you can no longer, it's contaminated the whole thing.
100%. And a fly is flying around here, I will hold this cup close to my face and hold my hand over it so it does not touch it or go into it, because if it goes into
it's such a cultural creation too.
Yeah.
Because that fear, because like we've had such different levels of like acceptance with that over humans' evolution.
For sure, especially if you look at what's approved to be in your food.
I don't think, but I agree that I don't want something else that I know could be laying eggs and larvae.
No, exactly. Yeah. I also have
you and me both have a parasite thing though.
We do. We really do.
You and me.
Yeah.
I guess that could also be on this thing as parasites, right?
Oh. No, can't. That's my body horror.
Especially going through the Baldur's Gate where it has the mind flayers as the parasite too, right? It's like you get like, oh, this is actually like. See, that's why it's not a no good fear, because I'm living through that fear in my video game, right? I
had to stop myself from going down the spiral.
It's the fear.
Because it's a game. It's a game.
But that is like the ultimate like brain parasite that controls you, everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The worm in the brain that trains you, Sam.
Like, what is this? Left 4 Dead, The Last of Us.
No, it's worse. It's Baldur's Gate. It's D&D.
It's D&D.
Those have zombie rules. This is D&D
true.
rules. I'd much rather play by zombie rules because I have a much higher chance of surviving that.
That is a valid point.
D&D rules, I do not have a high chance of surviving.
You could have a critical fail at any point in time.
Oh, it all depends who the DM is. It all depends who the DM is. I do not want my fate up to that. I'm not wrong.
No, you're not.
I'm not wrong.
I've been finding new things to throw into my homebrew.
Wait until you accidentally do a TPK, because that's going to suck, because it happens to every DM when you accidentally kill your entire party.
Yeah, I'm hoping it doesn't happen. Like, I'm trying to spread things out, but I mean, You
have to be really cognitive of it. Like, when you get in that moment, you're like, oh, maybe I just have all the monster damage real quick.
Yeah.
Maybe I just don't do that anymore, because this combat is not
Maybe their hit points aren't 45.
It's homebrewed for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think we've done a pretty good job. Is there any last thoughts that you have on this initial fear question?
Initial no thoughts.
Exactly.
No? What about you?
No, I'm excited that to bring this new format. I think that was more than anything, just to be able to get that first one out there is the biggest excitement. To be able to continue to challenge ourselves in creative different ways and just express. Yeah. That's the whole point of it, right? So thank you, Traveler, for stopping by the Tavern Post on this whatever experience and day you are experiencing this in. For the 3 of you that are listening, you're the real homies. You're the real ones. We support you.
The real MVPs.
Stop by for stew anytime you want. Usually it's either some kind of corn or potato chowder.
Slurp, slurp.
It is good though. It is good. I can promise you that much. We do Taco Wednesdays.
Yeah, we do. We don't conform to society's norms.
But we try to keep it fresh here at the Tavern Post. So, as always, you are loved and you are enough.
Peace out.